Good morning, everyone. This is the fourth talk in our series on the I am statements of Jesus, and today we're in John 10, looking at Jesus' claim to be the Good Shepherd. Of course, this claim is not made in isolation. It's very much connected to Sarah's talk last week on the door of the sheep, which is about how we come to God and become his people. Sarah reminded us that the way to receive abundant life in relationship with God is through Jesus. He's the doorway to becoming one of God's people. And this talk is about the experience of being one of God's people under his care and protection and benefiting from his provision in our lives. A couple of weeks ago, Ian referred to the significance of the I am statements to the Jews. I am was the name God gave Moses when he was asked who was sending him. So it's the name for God. The name Good Shepherd has similar implications. There's quite a lot in the Old Testament about shepherds. Moses was concerned that the people would be without a shepherd when he died in Numbers 27:17. King David was a shepherd before he was a king. 1 Samuel 17 verse 20. The people reminded David, "The Lord said to you, you shall shepherd my people Israel, and you shall become their ruler," in 2 Samuel 5 verse 2. "The Lord is my shepherd" is the famous first line of Psalm 23. David was calling God his shepherd. "Hear us, shepherd of Israel, you who lead Joseph like a flock," it says in Psalm 80 verse 1. The psalmist calling God the shepherd of Israel. And he will lead his flock like a shepherd, it says in Isaiah chapter 40 verse 11, a prophecy about the coming Messiah. So when Jesus claimed to be the Good Shepherd, he was aware of this history and its implications. He was claiming to be the one, the Messiah, the Shepherd King, in the line of David, who would save Israel, his people, and establish his kingdom. To the consternation of some of the Jews, later in this chapter, some of them are ready to stone him. So what is he like, this shepherd? Some characteristics. We heard last week that he enters by the gate. The watchman opens the door for him. He is the legitimate owner and carer of the sheep, not some thief or robber. The sheep listen to his voice. He calls them by name and leads them out. They follow him because they know his voice. He is familiar with his flock, knows them by name, and they know him and trust him. He lays down his life for the sheep. He's the owner. His sheep matter to him. He isn't like a hired hand. He's willing, and he did, lay down his life for the sheep to save them. It says in 1 Corinthians 6 verse 19 and 20, "You are not your own. You were bought at a price." We know that the price Jesus paid was high. He died a terrible death so that we might live. He provides good pasture, a protective fold to rest in securely, protects us from enemies, heals diseases, restores souls, watches over at night, searches and finds straying and lost sheep, and he doesn't lose any. So if that's what the Good Shepherd is like, it's really good to be one of his sheep. David expressed what it's like to be one of God's sheep wonderfully in Psalm 23, and I'm going to read it. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I can't match that poetry, but I can say that in all the years that I've known Jesus, since I came to know him when I was about 17, I found Jesus to be the most kind, the most loving, forgiving, generous and gracious shepherd to me and to Margaret. God is intimately involved in our lives, loving us, caring for us, providing for us, leading us, teaching us, blessing us, forgiving us, and giving us what we don't deserve. Why wouldn't we want to follow such a shepherd? Which brings me to the other aspect of the Good Shepherd. He is a shepherd king. He doesn't rule with a rod of iron, but he does expect us to follow his lead, to obey him, and to engage with him in his mission to the world. We don't do so out of fear or compulsion. We do so out of love and respect, out of thankfulness and gratitude for all he's done for us. The world needs a good shepherd. The UK needs a good shepherd. Bury needs a good shepherd. There are people we know who need to know Jesus in the way that we do, and to benefit from all we have benefited from at his hand. We who are his sheep are incredibly privileged, being cared for by such a shepherd. But this shepherd has a plan and a purpose for his sheep. We are to join him in his mission to gather many more sheep into his fold. What we have is too good to keep to ourselves. Let's tell the world. Amen. Amen.